Let's go. Yo. Get up, nah, I ain't a quitter. Toss me the ball, I'm a really big hitter. Big picture, I'm a straight killer. Rising the song to the highest bidder. Got juice, got gas, I'ma move fast. New shoes, new tracks, like who's that? I'm new, come back, better than last. Yeah, it's a new me, never gonna look back. Never gonna look back. Cause damn, I was built to last. You move slow and I move fast. And that's facts.
Hey, what's good, everybody? Welcome back to Brunch with Trax and D-Nice on the Chicago Sports Podcast. We've got a packed episode today as we dive into whether the Bears should pass on Keenan Allen instead of make a bold trade for Tyreek Hill. Plus, we'll discuss offseason strategies, draft picks, and more. Let's get right into it. First, D-Nice. What are your initial thoughts on Keenan Allen possibly leaving the Bears and Tyreek Hill expressing interest in moving on from Miami?
The Tyreek Hill thing is different. Is definitely interesting, but let's get into Keenan Allen first. I feel like honestly losing Keenan Allen could be a detriment to Caleb. You know, it may stun his development a tad bit because as the season ended, you seen more of a Caleb looked at Keenan Allen more of a safety valve, you know, and losing him and the trust that was built between the two guys, it could be damaged a little bit if you bring a new guy in. As far as replacing him with a guy like Tyreek Hill, it would definitely be pretty interesting. Now, what worries me about keeping Keenan is, you know, his availability and, you know, as always, the money factor at the end of the day, right?
Yeah, absolutely. There's definitely the money factor, and Plank just brings up a good point. He did some homework for us. He said Tyreek is due 28, let's just call it 29 mil in 2025 per spot track. Now, do you remember what Keenan Allen's contract was?
Not off the bat, but what he's asking for though is pretty lofty. It's not quite that much, but I think it may be 9 million cheaper.
Okay, so about 20 mil.
Yeah.
So,
But I think with a guy like Keenan at this stage of his career, it might be a little too rich for our blood.
Well, and that might be something that we need to investigate too. If we do get the cheetah in the building, you know, down the road 3 years later, we'd be right in the same situation, right? So if we do get him on a 2-year prove-it deal, right? Not that you really need a prove-it deal from Tyreek, but he is leaving. You know, he's been in 2 ball clubs in the last few years and kind of need to, you know, hey, listen, settle down, chill out, roll with the team, you know, grow with the team. And we're going to give you, you know, performance-based contract. You know, we're going to get you whatever it is. I'm pretty sure the Chiefs are going to have to pick some of that up. And so actually, if you talk to them and you ask them, hey, let's do this. I don't know if this is possible, but we're just hypothetically speaking as fans, right? What if you could say, hey, listen, pick up some of this contract and we'll give you a better draft pick? Because I think he's a day 2 draft pick. I think he's worth a trade of a second round or a third round, potentially, honestly, especially given the sense that he is forcing them to go out. It's not like he wants to stay and the team needs him to leave. So if you make it look like that and you say, hey, pick up some of this, then the first year is easier to manage. Not only to mention, the Bears are probably going to move on anywhere between 2 to 5, maybe even 6 players that have really healthy contracts in the terms of, even though there's 82 million on the board for next year, they could be in the, you know, market for 110, 115, 120 mil. So something like this, like you said earlier, yeah, it's $9 million more expensive, but is Cheetah worth 9 more mil? I'd say hell yes. I mean, quite honestly, D-Nice, the thing about it is with him, he's one of the most electrifying guys in the NFL. I mean, hands down, probably top 10, 10, 15. He's very exciting. You know what I'm trying to say to you?
Yeah, now with saying that, there's another thing to consider here with Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, let's do it.
Do you feel like he would become a detriment to our young QB if he's not getting the ball when and where he feels like he should. Being that we already have a packed room, we have a young guy that we're trying to develop with Roma Dunze, and we also have DJ Moore. So he's not going to get these 9 and 10. He's not going to have these 9 and 10 catch games that he's had in Miami with Tua, because of the unavailability of Jalen Waddle and everyone else over there. So, that's another thing to look at, because you'll be paying a hefty price with the money, but you may be paying a healthier price with the development of our young QB.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And a guy that could take the top off and just go with it. And I mean, talk about a guy that could really progress Roma Dunze. Think about it. The speed that he has, he's a different receiver. Not that Keenan Allen cannot teach Roma Dunze, and possibly DJ Moore a few things if he hasn't already, because they've already said it. He's one of those type players that he's almost like, the wide receiver coach that got promoted to offensive coordinator, thrown from the fryer to the frying pan. He said that when you got Keenan Allen out there, he's essentially like a coach on the field. So I'm sure he's already taught him some things. But in terms of like speed and being able to move in and out and cut, I would say Rome. Now I'm not saying in comparing speed and all that, don't get it twisted. But what I'm trying to say is that there might be a whole different wrinkle that you could get out of Tyreek that would help unlock Rome. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, possibly. But one thing, as I watched this game for over 40 years, one thing I know for sure you cannot teach, and that's the speed.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, remember that kid, Deshaun Jackson out of Philly? Oh, my God. Talk about speed, bro. Woo! And a guy of our own, Devin Hester. Oh, my God, baby.
Yes, indeed.
As bad as a receiver he was, I did not care because he had speed, and you knew like if he ever did potentially catch that ball and it was throw to him at the right spot, I mean, it could go to the house, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, him running that deep route, it was amazing to see the separation he got between him and the other defender.
I had a joke when I was a kid once, and kid as in younger, but the thing about it was with Hester is that I said, why doesn't the quarterback drop back and punt the ball to Hester? He might actually get further yards.
Hey, it's quite a possibility because he was sure electric on the special team.
When
he caught a punt, he looked a lot different than when he caught a pass.
Yeah. It's just different angle or something. I don't know what it is, man. It was crazy. But what up, Christopher Brown? Oh, man. What's good, Leonidas? Appreciate y'all coming out. So, listen. Some Bears fans are saying that it's time to focus on building up on the trenches. I'm one of them. While others like D Nice are looking at, getting a sexy running back in there and, taking some pressure off of Caleb and doing some ground pound, Now, I will say this. Do you agree with that mindset instead of splurging on star receivers? Do you agree with that mindset, or do you think there's a healthy balance? What are you looking at, D Nice?
Now, as much as I have a love and respect for the running backs, I do believe absolutely that the trenches need attention. That was part of the details that was skipped by Ryan Poles this last offseason. He went for the glitz and the glamour instead of directing the attention to the substance, which is the guys up front. And that's on both sides of the ball. So, yeah, I absolutely believe that we have to address these issues that we have in the trenches, and because that will overall make us a better team on offense and defense.
Yeah, like Leonidas just brought up, he said running back can't do anything without an O-line. Now, I'm not saying that I disagree with him, but I do like to bring a point up that you put up, that you mentioned, that really good running backs can make an offensive line look better.
Absolutely.
But that doesn't mean that you go cheap on them every time. And it's almost like we've saved so much money. And I'm not talking about money, quantitative. I'm talking about draft pick capital also. Like it's time, like we finally, do something there early. And I don't know what that's going to look like. I don't know if that's potentially one of those two second rounders that we use, and then maybe the third, plus we got the compensatory pick, for Ian Cunningham when he gets shipped off to Tennessee, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so now you're looking at a second round and a third offensive lineman. Everything I've been hearing, so a lot of these you got me on running back. A lot of these offensive linemen, a lot of people are going to be drafting by need, and they're going to position them to get drafted earlier than they probably deserve. So
Well,
that
I'm sorry.
it's not the best available. It's the best available of the need that you need, because if you look in terms of what the Lions did when they went out and got Gibbs, everybody thought they were crazy. Like, what in the earth are you doing? Because like it's been a minute since a team or teams went out and got a running back in the first round, because let's face it, the NFL has drastically dropped the stock and the value of a running back, even though you and I both know that this NFL team or this NFL game does not exist without the running back, brother.
Not at all. And we have 3 examples this season alone of how a dynamic running back can change your offense, can give your offense a full facelift. We have Saquon Barkley in Philadelphia, and we also have Derrick Henry that's in Baltimore. And another example is the way that Ben Johnson used both the running backs, Montgomery and Gibbs, in Detroit. Now we're not saying just go draft the average Joe Smo at a running back early in the first round.
Yeah.
Trust the running back that we look to. If we draft a running back in the first round, he has to be the creme de la creme.
Oh yeah, yeah. No questions asked. And I want to see. You know how a lot of people are like, okay, if you get Ben Johnson, I want to see what your action plan is for defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
Because they're not worried about OC because they know he's offensive minded. So what do you have? If you're going to go ahead and get that first round running back, I want to see what your strategy is for offensive line. How are you going to address that before you go out and get that running back in the first round? If you have a contingency plan built in place for that running back, then and only then we won't get that, because that's strategy within the draft that we just won't hear, because if you explain that to the fans, then everybody and their mama knows about it, and you just took the strategy away from the whole draft.
Yeah, and then you have some guys look at you crazy, like you got 4 eyes on your head, because, if you look at the needs of this team, it stands out quite clear that offensive line is definitely priority number one.
Yeah. Good point, Leonidas. Look what Swift did behind the Eagles' offensive line. Really good offensive line. I always bring them up early and often, and you're 100% right about that.
But who looks better, Swift or Barkley, behind that Eagles O-line? It's a total difference because remember, at the end of the year, Swift was benched by Philadelphia.
Yeah, right. And that's what concerned me when we went out and got him, because I'm like, okay, he is he's rotated the tires twice already. The Lions, was done with him. Now the Eagles are done with him. What is it that they are seeing about this guy, or what are we seeing in him that they don't see? You know what I'm trying to say? So, now I will say this: if we have room for a Saquon, and for whatever weird reason the Eagles are done for Saquon, I would quickly make room for Saquon and get rid of Swift. I see that action plan for sure. So
well, I don't think you have to look any further than Genty out of Boise State. He's definitely one of those guys, and that way you can keep both.
Yeah, but listen, you are a guy that's very skilled in looking at college football, okay? I do at times. I'm more of a regional rat, okay?
Yeah.
I don't really look outside of that. Occasionally I will, but I'm not going to lie. And like Georgia, they're exciting. They're sexy. Of course I'm going to look at them. I also look at my USC, obviously. Tried not to look at them too much this year, but I did support them when I could. Right? So kind of like the Bears, except right now I'm kind of forced to look at them even when I don't want to. But I'm glad I did the last game of the season though. Um, but my whole thing about the college and that is where are we at with the whole talk about Gentry not really putting up good numbers against five-star programs? Like his transition over to the NFL, he might not be as good as everybody expects because he hasn't went up against that five-star talent. What do you have to say to those folks? What's your argument against that?
But who's the 5-star talent that we're talking about? I mean, because the guys he went up against this year, he's pretty much hit his number every time.
I'm just telling you what's
No,
out
no,
there.
no,
I'm
no.
not
I
I'm
understand where
not
you
saying that
coming
I
from.
agree or disagree. I'm just saying what folks are saying, and I just
Right.
are left an open argument and saying that this isn't mine, but this is
Hmm.
out there, and I don't watch it enough to have an opinion. You know what I'm saying?
Right. No, I
So
totally
we're
understand. I totally
and,
understand where you're coming
and
from.
we're looking for your opinion on this because there are folks out there that might ease their mind about Gentry being picked up as a potential first rounder. Or how about this? You got 2 seconds, you got a third. What if we traded up, went and got that offensive lineman?
Hmm.
The 10th pick overall, Gentry was still available. We jumped up and it got 2 first rounders and went up and got Gentry later. So now where are we at? Just tell everybody about Gentry and what he looks like against five-star.
Listen, Ashton Gentry is explosive. You think of all the guys. You think of the guys that were drafted in the first round before him. Think of
What's
the
his
Zeke.
NFL comp? What's his NFL comp to you?
To me, his NFL comp is ah
Maybe a Sproles or
no. He's more of a he's a faster Marshawn Lynch, or okay, equivalent similar to like a more physical Dalvin Cook from what I've
wow.
seen. Yeah.
I really wanted us to pick Cook when the Vikings were done with him. I wish we would have.
Well, I'm kind of glad we didn't because he didn't really make he didn't make any hay anywhere else.
No, he didn't. Yeah. Yeah. So to your point, okay. So Dalvin Cook, faster Dalvin Cook. I like that. I could
More
definitely
physical.
cook with Cook for sure. I like that, man. That's good. I,
Yeah.
I would definitely look in. Where was Cook drafted? Do you remember? Was he a first rounder?
No, he wasn't a first rounder. I want to say he may have been a third rounder. I believe
Yeah.
he may have
Okay.
been the third. He may
I
have been
got
the
you.
third round pick.
I got you. I got you. But I see the value there. If that is the true comp, and if anybody else in the chat would like to tell us, this is off script. This is not a question that we had intended, and
Mhm.
sometimes the show goes that way. But our question to you is, who is your comp for Gentry? Who would you say your NFL comp is, man? So yeah, Marshawn Lynch, 4 stars is saying a faster Marshawn Lynch is a hefty praise. Listen, Marshawn Lynch was a freaking beast. If he can
Hmm.
plow guys over like Lynch, I'm all in on this guy for sure. But hey, listen, let's shift gears a bit. Where are your thoughts about Bears coaching search and potential offensive coordinator candidates? There's been speculation about Joe Brady and Liam Cohen. Who would you
Hmm.
prefer? And do you think either would fit well in Chicago's system? Honestly, my answer to the last part of that is Chicago doesn't have a system.
Right. I was just about to say that.
Sorry, that was your question. I couldn't
Uh,
stop. I couldn't get not let it get out.
I was
But
just about to say that those guys will be brought in here to implement a system.
to
But
ace it, like they are a system.
asking me who I would prefer out of the two, I
Yeah,
respect both of these guys and the work they've done with both of their respective ball clubs.
yeah.
Liam Cohen in Tampa Bay and Joe with Josh Allen and the Bills. But for my money, I would take Joe Brady mainly because of his extensive background. He's worked with Sean Payton. He started with Sean Payton and the Saints, and you watch how he unlocked Joe Brady Joe Burrow, I'm sorry, to have one of the greatest seasons in college football history. He cut his teeth in Carolina as an OC with Matt Rule for 2 years, but to see the job that he's done further developing Josh Allen and also the running back Cook, I think I would prefer Joe Brady. Now, Liam Cohen is no slouch. Now, don't get me wrong, but I just think Joe Brady has had more success in other places.
But I mean, quite honestly, isn't Brady looking to get to become a head coach, or is he still like interested in OC?
Well, I think he's going to be interviewing for head coaches, a head coaching spot, and rightfully so. He's had enough jobs as far as OC and offensive assistant to where this is his time, and what time better than now because he could possibly be coaching the NFL's MVP.
Yeah, if Ben comes, I wouldn't be, and honestly, he's the first round draft pick that everybody's talking about. If Ben comes, I definitely would like Randall L to come with him and be our OC. I think that would be amazing. He's got a really smart mind, being a former quarterback, slash receiver. And from what I understand, he takes care of both those positions as far as the Lions and all that. So that would be really cool, man. I would like to see something like that for sure. I think our
Randall L is a
offense.
Chicago guy. Randall
What's
L is
oh
from Chicago, yeah.
yeah, right. So that helps, but not all the time. I mean, there are offensive linemen that fumble the damn ball on the goal line, So um that are Chicago guys. So listen, the Bears draft position is also a hot topic. Okay, sitting with the 10th pick, should the Bears target a top trench player or consider trading down to stockpile more picks?
Um, Well, I think a lot of it starts with the guy that we got coming in to run the show. We have to
Head
figure
coach?
out yeah,
Yeah,
we have to figure out what scheme we're going to run, and we got to point out the players that fit the scheme.
yeah,
But just generally answering your question,
yeah.
the draft is a funny thing, and you want to go like I think Ryan Poles he used the best player available thing last year, but I think you have to really focus on your needs and wherever they prioritize a need in, I think you know they should exercise that 10 pick in that direction.
I do. I like Jerry Angelo's approach. He would always trade back. He would try to
Hmm.
get as many draft picks as he could. And I'm not saying that. Okay, here's what I'm saying. That shouldn't be your go-to all the damn time. Okay, there's a good, healthy
Right.
balance. But it almost
Yeah.
feels like this is one of those drafts where we could really do us because there's a lot of depth at key positions, right? So I almost feel like I wouldn't be mad if we traded out of the 10th pick. I
Yeah.
really wouldn't, especially if we could do ourselves good and get multiple. We've already got 3 picks in the top 40. So
Hmm.
what if we could get 4? That'd be pretty
Yep.
cool, you know?
Absolutely.
So,
The draft presents is different forms of challenges. By the minute, like things change so swiftly on draft day. I mean, things just happen. It just happens so fast. So you just never know what situation you could be in. So
yeah.
as long as the guys in the front office take advantage of these situations, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It can't
Now,
be
let's
made away.
yeah, absolutely. I agree with you wholeheartedly. Now looking at Tyler Scott, okay?
Hmm.
19 targets. He was expected to step up this season. Uh, but we didn't see much of him on the field at all. I mean, basically, you look at Carter, and he was basically like the fourth receiver. I thought
Wow.
Scott would be the fourth receiver. He was not.
Hmm.
He was nowhere to be found. He looked good on special teams, and he did a little this and that. But honestly, I didn't see him at all. So, do you think he still has a future with this team as a potential receiver, um, or should the Bears explore other options?
Well, I mean, I think as Bears fans, we all had high hopes for Tyler Scott. Where did he go wrong? Who knows? But nevertheless, the Bears have to keep all options open. And I hope Tyler is somewhere putting in the work. It was shocking to me, as you mentioned, to see Carter getting live reps over him this season. I'm hopeful Tyler comes into next season knowing that he's going to be in a big competition for a spot on
Yeah,
this team and I hope he's prepared to earn his spot.
I do too. And if you get a guy like Randall, who is a OC, he might be able to help him find his spot a little bit more than somebody that's not, that's not their skill set as far as receiver and whatnot. There's definitely something to be said about that being, your niche and being able to help people out in that position. You know what I'm saying? So if he sees something in Tyler, that's something that you could definitely look at. So,
and that will be a plus for us because it's always good to keep the guys that you drafted. Homegrown players is always good for a team to keep. Green Bay has been phenomenal with that over the years. I hate to say the name, but you have to give respect where it's due. They've been phenomenal with keeping homegrown players, and they've had a lot of success with that.
Yeah, the Saints for years, the Packers, so much depth at receiver. You never know who's going to get the ball. And that's important because guys can't stay healthy. It's football. You need to, refresh them, and you need depth. So, listen, if they find a spot for Scott, I hope it works out for him. If not,
Absolutely.
whatever. I'm at that point right now with some of these guys, to be honest with you. I'm not going to lose a wink over it. But like you said, I would like to keep him in because we drafted him and all that. And he hasn't really done a lot for me to, to be against it, but he hasn't done a whole lot for me to be for it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Now, before we get back to this conversation, I'd like to break really quick this discussion and let's talk about free agency. If you're Ryan Poles, would you re-sign Keenan Allen or let him walk and invest this money elsewhere? What about adding a speedster as a third receiver instead? And we brought up Tyreek Hill, okay, but outside of that, if you didn't want to spend the $9 million, if you didn't want to trade and get rid of, obviously Miami's going to want a draft pick in order to go try to find their Tyreek Hill or somebody else in the dang draft, because they're losing a really big piece. And let's be honest. What did they do in order to get Tyreek? They probably did a haul for that guy. So they're going to want something back. So outside of that, what would you want to do with that money with Keenan? Or are you good? Are you comfortable with just resigning him and let him hit the open market, see what he does with that, see what his number is, and if it looks good and we can get a good deal, there's something to be said for familiarity with somebody, and they've already been in the building. They've been and they saw everything, and keep somebody in that already knows what we got and has got close to the guys and all that kind of relationship with Caleb and the rest of the players and all that. What do you think with all that to be said?
All right, here's a few factors, Keenan Allen. Number one, it's about how much he feels he's worth, and number two is how much he would like to be back in Chicago.
Oh,
now another factor that we have to consider is scheme. Who's coming in here to run this ship and be the head coach? And will the head coach feel that it's necessary to have Keenan on his team?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. And I got like Ben Johnson. I would definitely see where he would, see the value. But if he has anything to do with the way they've been drafting in Detroit, I would listen to that guy for sure. I mean, he's not long in the tooth like other guys where I almost feel like with a younger statesman where it's kind of like we're taking the lead, we'll give you some input and kind of try to find the players that you want for your system, even though sometimes that doesn't go well. But if you get a guy like Pete Carroll, if you get a guy like Vrabel, if you get a guy like Rivera, those guys kind of like it's built in, earned and demanded respect that they're heavier on the, okay, we're going to listen to you about who you want and go get him if that's the guy and it'll work out in that round, in that draft, round.
Yeah, I mean, you look at guys like Pete Carroll. If you look at his teams, he's always had some nice receivers on his teams.
Yeah.
With a tremendous amount of speed.
Baldwin. Yeah. Yeah, I like Baldwin. They brought Deshaun over there too, right? Deshaun Jackson. We talked about him earlier.
Yeah, and if Ben Johnson is a guy, there's a couple of speedy guys over there in Detroit you can bring along with him.
What's up, V Dog? How you doing, man? We got D Nice in the building too. So finally, one question from our listener mailbag. They were asking, should the Bears consider trading for a high-end pass rusher like Bradley Chubb, even with his recent injury concerns? Or is it smarter to wait to find a developing talent through the draft like we did with Booker?
I think the Bears should leave Chubb right where he is. He's too big of a gamble for this state of the Chicago Bears. We can use that capital that we have to trade for a much reliable pass rusher that could be unhappy in his current situation, or just simply snatch one out of the draft and hope the new group that comes in here can develop them properly.
Right.
And let's not count out free agency.
Oh yeah, I agree too. The free agency is big and it's key. A lot of people are going to be recycling because they're going to find, cheaper options in the draft. They're going to have the elder statesman that's already there, potentially show them the ropes to, groom them, and then they're going to be like, okay, option two, like let's be real. Go look at Cincinnati Bengals, right? They got two really good receivers. If they can use that capital elsewhere for an offensive line, whatever the Bengals need is, defensive player, whatever they decide it is, they're going to go ahead and get rid of T. Higgins, right? I would say maybe that's potentially something they look at, or they sign him. So this is a situation that we need to consider too. You know what I mean? And that's basically it for today's show, but we want to hear from you guys. We're going to leave 5 questions for you guys, okay? Make sure you leave them in the comments below as we take off. We want to say that we appreciate you. Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you hit that like button. Thank you for all your comments. And if you're new to us, make sure you hit that subscribe button too. Special shout out to D Nice, man. Reason why we pretty much created this name for him is because he is very nice. He calms the storms in all of us in the building, in the locker room. When things get heated, he is the grand poobah to smooth everything out. And when we need him in a clutch moment, he comes in clutch. And he's done some solo shows. He's come on throughout the week. He's basically like my Swiss Army knife. So his rebirth of D Nice, man. So we appreciate you coming on, man, and thank you so much for being on, buddy. And that's why I was able to include you in the description, because I knew you'd come in clutch and you'd be on the show today,
And it's always fun doing these shows, man. I appreciate the name, and I appreciate all you guys in the chat, and I appreciate the team of Chicago Sports Podcast. Together we're a lot better than we are apart. So,
For sure, I agree with you. So let's roll up these comments, these questions, so we can get some of these comments in while we wrap up the show. After we wrap up the show, would you trade for a second-round pick for Tyreek Hill? Should the Bears re-sign Keenan Allen or move on? Make sure you leave these comments to these questions below. Who's your top choice for the Bears offensive coordinator? What's the best strategy for the 10th overall draft pick? Stay or trade down? Finally, last but not least, do you trust Tyler Scott as the Bears wide receiver 3 or 4 next season? Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more Chicago sports talk. See you next time on Brunch with Trax and D Nice. Peace.
Bear down.